who is the strongest character in One Piece in each separate category or group? For example, who is the strongest Yonko? Who is the strongest celestial dragon? Who is the strongest giant? Who's the strongest non-devil fruit user? Well, let's analyze as well as explain our choice for each of the categories we gathered. These are the strongest characters in the following 35 categories. For example, who is the strongest marine in One Piece? Well, in terms of current active marines, then this would probably be Akainu, right? His Magu Magu no Mi grants him the power to produce and control magma, making his attacks devastatingly destructive and capable of overwhelming most opponents. Oda even stated that if Akainu was a pirate, he would have found the One Piece within a year, so yeah, there's that. His endurance is extraordinary. He's a master of hockey, and in short, Akainu embodies raw power, unyielding determination, and the terrifying might of the Marines' justice. But well, if we are to include former Marines, or even Marines at their prime, we would have to count both Dragon and Garp. For Dragon, we won't say much because, well, we don't really know the full extent of his strength. What we do know, though, is that he's the most wanted man in the world for a reason, and his strength is probably frightening. When it comes to Garp now, well, when younger, he was surely a different beast. In his prime, Garp's strength was on par with the likes of Goldie Roger, as the two frequently clashed during their era. Garp's incredible physical power allowed him to defeat pirates with nothing but his fists, earning him the nickname Garp the Fist. He possesses exceptional mastery over hockey, particularly armament hockey. His durability and endurance are legendary, as he faced off against some of the most dangerous pirates without wielding a devil fruit. Garp's feats, including cornering Roger multiple times and fighting Roxy Shebek alongside Roger, highlight his incredible combat abilities and strategic acumen. So overall, for the title of the strongest marine, at least as far as we know for the time being, this title goes to Monkey D. Garp. Now, this was just the beginning, and each category from here onwards becomes more interesting or even more difficult to conclude. So, let's keep going. When it comes to which is the most exciting new game now, well, the answer to that is obviously Zenless Zone Zero. In the new version, there will be plenty of new content added to the game. And it's not just that. New comprehensive optimizations and upgrades to the old content were made as well. So yeah, fresh challenges and exploration opportunities are just ahead. The game has optimized the TV mode experience to make it more diverse and enjoyable, while removing it from the main story and offering it as optional side content. Meanwhile, some of the early main story quests have been further improved, making the leveling process smoother for players to progress and enjoy the later parts of the game. I mean, check this! Hoshimi Miyabi, one of the most anticipated characters since the game's beta, is finally available during version 1.4. Click the link in the description down below to get the new character Asaba Harumasa for free, along with resources to have him level up to 50. And by using code MIYABIRELEASE, you'll get 60 polychrome and 6,666 Denny. Start your exciting Zenless Zone Zero experience today. But now, let's get back to our video. What about when it comes to the strongest Admiral now? Well, since Garp isn't an Admiral, but rather a Vice Admiral, and we don't know for sure what rank Dragon had while being a Marine, this leaves us with Kong, Sengoku, Zephyr, Green Bull, Fujitora, Aokiji, Borsalino, and Akainu. Between these options, I think it's pretty clear that the strongest of them is, as we previously analyzed, Akainu. We spoke about Marines, but how about pirates next? And more specifically, Yonko. Which of them was the strongest ever? Well, the candidates are Whitebeard, Shanks, Big Mom, Kaido, Blackbeard, Buggy, and Luffy. Which of them is the strongest? Well, for the time being, I think it's fair to exclude Luffy, Buggy, and Blackbeard. Both Luffy and Blackbeard are strong, but not as strong as they will eventually become. Plus, I think the other Yonko that went through their prime are arguably stronger than them. So I think the real question here is Prime Kaido versus Prime Whitebeard versus Prime Shanks. Kaido versus Whitebeard, I think it's clear that Whitebeard is stronger. I mean, Kaido almost lost to Odin, that, as we know, never stood a chance against Whitebeard. For Shanks now, well, most of his abilities and even full strength are still mostly unknown. So the way I see it, the only right answer is Prime Whitebeard. I mean, he was one of the most powerful pirates in history and was hailed as the strongest man in the world. At his peak, he was on equal footing with Goldie Roger and a key figure who shaped the pirate era. Prime Whitebeard was a true monster on the battlefield, embodying raw strength, unshakable will, and the terrifying potential to reshape the world. So, as far as we're concerned, and as far as we know, at least while the video's being recorded, Whitebeard is the strongest Yonko that ever existed in the world of One Piece. We spoke about the strongest Yonko, but how about the strongest Warlord? Well, here's the candidates. Dracule Mihawk, Crocodile, Boa Hancock, Bartholomew Kuma, Gecko Moria, Jinbei, Blackbeard, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, Don Quixote do Flamingo, Buggy, and Edward Weevil. Among those, I think there's one clear, distinct case that is clearly stronger than the rest, and this is none other than Mihawk. I mean, for starters, he is the strongest swordsman in the world, right? And he's also on par with Shanks, aka a Yonko. His weapon, Yoru, is one of the 12 superior supreme grade swords. Plus, he's only the second ever known character to turn his own blade black after Ryuma, showcasing his mastery over the blade. He has incredible observational skills, immense physical strength, and mastery of Haki. Not many more things need to be said here. Mihawk is the only right answer. But is Mihawk the strongest sword user in history? Not quite, because there are a few more characters that use or used swords in One Piece that are arguably stronger than Mihawk. The 4 candidates for this position are Mihawk, Zoro, Shanks, and Roger. Zoro, for the time being, is obviously not as strong as Mihawk. Maybe he will become as strong or even stronger in the coming years. For Shanks, well, in the very least, this is debatable, so you can go ahead and let us know in the comments down below who you think is stronger between the two of them. But no matter who's stronger, the reality is that they both scale lower than Roger. After all, he is seen using a sword, right? So yeah, being the Pirate King, I think it's fair to argue that he was stronger than both Mihawk and Shanks. How about the strongest current Pirate King candidate? I mean, the main ones worth considering for this position are Blackbeard, Luffy, and Shanks. But before I reveal my answer, let's open a small parenthesis on Shanks. Hear me out. Despite openly saying that he will now go after the One Piece, I don't think he truly meant it. I mean, he had all the time in the world to do it, but chose not to. Yeah, some people might say that he waited for the right time to claim it, similarly to how Roger was too early to fully use the One Piece. But another popular theory comes in mind for that. This theory states that each Roger Pirate member currently plays a role in the selection of the next Pirate King. Rayleigh is responsible to train the next Pirate King. Crocus was responsible to welcome them in the Red Line and report back his findings, potentially even let Laboon crush those he saw unfit. Shanks now is responsible to decide who the next successor will be, and also be sure that he is strong enough, so he will be guarding the One Piece and fight Luffy in order to make sure that he's strong enough to become the next Pirate King. Meaning that if all these are true, then Shanks is not actually after the One Piece. But for the sake of this point, we still cannot fully exclude him from the list of potential future Pirate Kings, and therefore I think this point belongs to him, as I would rank him higher than Luffy and Blackbeard, at least for now, and given what we know. Now, who is the strongest Worst Generation member? The candidates are Luffy, Zoro, Blackbeard, Capone Bege, Bonnie, Hawkins, Apu, Kid, Killer, Uroge, X-Drake, and Law. I mean, in reality, this becomes a question of Luffy versus Blackbeard. So who among them is the strongest one? Well, even though that I think Luffy has a solid chance, given the secret ace that Blackbeard always has, I would have to give him the advantage. I mean, think about it. Whenever the fight happens off screen, Blackbeard wins. Why is that? Probably because Blackbeard has a secret ability that he uses, one that Oda does not wish to reveal. Not until the ending stages of One Piece, at least. This is why if I had to choose one of the two, Luffy or Blackbeard, I would probably have to go with Blackbeard here. Okay, let's move on to Devil Fruit users next. Let's begin with Zoan Devil Fruits. Who is the strongest ancient Zoan user? But be careful on that title. Not who holds the strongest ancient Zoan Devil Fruit, but rather who's the strongest character that ate one. Well, the candidates here are basically the 3 All-Stars: King, Queen, and Jack. All 3 of them ate ancient Zoan Devil Fruits. Jack ate the Elephant Fruit, ancient Zoan model Mammoth. Queen ate the Dragon Fruit model Brachiosaurus, while King ate the Dragon Fruit model Pteranodon. All 3 Devil Fruits are really strong, but which of them is actually stronger? Well, in my opinion, this has to be King, Kaido's right-hand man. He's widely accepted as the strongest of the Beast Pirates All-Stars. His combination of Lunarian traits, Devil Fruit powers, and combat skills make him a devastating opponent, capable of challenging even top-tier fighters. Plus, there's a reason Kaido chose him to lead underneath him. Before we proceed further, no, we didn't forget about Kaido, but his Devil Fruit is actually a mythical Zoan rather than an ancient Zoan like most people think. And since we've gone ahead and mentioned mythical Zoans, which is the strongest mythical Zoan Devil Fruit user? The prime candidates here are Kaido, Luffy, Marco, and Sengoku. Sengoku ate the human fruit model Buddha. Luffy ate the human fruit model Nika. Marco ate the bird fruit model Phoenix. And Kaido ate the fish fruit model Azure Dragon. Okay, among the 4, I think the prime candidates are Luffy, Kaido, and maybe even prime Sengoku. Since we never got to see Sengoku go all out, I'm gonna have to lean more towards Kaido. I mean, yeah, he was stated to be around the level of Garp and even Prime Roger, but we never actually saw him during his prime stage. Between Kaido and Luffy now? Well, we already analyzed in previous videos we posted how we think that despite Luffy winning against Kaido, Kaido was still stronger. He was carrying an entire island while fighting. He was drunk. He was jumped by a bunch of people at the same time for literally hours, and only then did he lose. I would give this point to Kaido. How about the strongest artificial Zoan Devil Fruit user? Well, here, there's only one right answer: Momonosuke. After becoming an adult, Momonosuke's power in combination with his incredible overpowered Devil Fruits made his power levels skyrocket. His capabilities as a user user of the artificial Uo Uo no Mi, model Seiryu, greatly improved. I mean, Momonosuke's dragon form is now as massive as Kaido's, making him physically imposing and capable of incredible feats. The only other candidate that could be considered is Killer. That, despite eating a Smile Devil Fruit, which is essentially an artificial Zoan Devil Fruit, he was still incredibly strong. But overall, I think adult Momonosuke takes this round. But since we mentioned Killer, well, we did not really analyze his strength all that much because, well, we're actually gonna do it now. You see, when it comes to the strongest Smile user, this title goes to a failed Smile user, Killer. Killer is not only a skilled fighter, but a great swordsman or weapon user, depending on how you see it, capable of putting Zoro through a difficult challenge. Even though he eventually lost to the better swordsman, that battle showcased some of his strength. Moving on, who is the strongest Zoan Devil Fruit user in general? Mythical Zoans, ancient Zoans, artificial Zoans, everything. Well, the answer will be one of the 3 winners in each category, right? Meaning Kaido versus King versus Momonosuke. I don't think there's a need to speak a lot about that, right? Kaido takes this round as well. And with that being said, let's move on to the strongest Logia user. The prime candidates are Enel with his Goro Goro no Mi, Blackbeard with his Yami Yami no Mi, and Akainu with his Magu Magu no Mi. I'll not consider Aokiji and Kizaru because those two are clearly weaker than Akainu. So, between Akainu and Enel, I think it's clear that Akainu is superior, right? But how about Akainu versus Blackbeard now? Well, the obvious answer here would be Akainu. But hold on, because as we previously analyzed, whenever the fight happens off-screen, Blackbeard seems to have the upper hand, no matter who he fights. So it's not far-fetched to think he has a secret power, making him incredibly more powerful. But since his power boost is both hypothetical as well as not exactly known how much more powerful it makes Blackbeard, let's just go on and give this one to Akainu. What we will say though, is that this may be closer than what people think. At least this is the case while making this video. Having covered 2 of the 3 Devil Fruit types, let's see the last type. Who is the strongest Paramecia type Devil Fruit user? For me, the prime candidates here are Blackbeard again, Doflamingo, Law, and of course, Prime Whitebeard. Well, we already briefly analyzed how strong Prime Whitebeard was in this video, so we're not gonna do it again. Instead, we'll just say that, yeah, there was a reason this guy was considered on par with Prime Goldie Roger. So naturally, none of these rookies stands a chance against this beast that could just as easily be described as a force of nature as well. And now, let's generalize this further. Who is the strongest Devil Fruit user? Everything combined. Zoan, Logia, and Paramecia. Well, the answer here will be one of the 3 winners of each category, right? Well, not exactly. You see, yeah, we do have Akainu, Whitebeard, and Kaido as candidates, but here we should also add a 4th and 5th candidate. Who are these 2 guys? Well, Dragon is the one that has probably eaten a Devil Fruit that we don't know yet what it might be. And the second one is Loki, a character recently introduced in the manga that, at least while making this video, we don't know what Devil Fruit he has consumed. We just know that he's currently imprisoned after killing his father in order to obtain an unspecified Devil Fruit. So yeah, that was the reason we did not include Dragon or Loki in our previous points, since we don't really know what type of Devil Fruit those 2 individuals consumed. And yeah, we still have to talk about Rocks, which we do know was among the strongest individuals in the world of One Piece, but we don't know if he was a Devil Fruit user. The same goes for Emu as well. So yeah, I guess this point is way harder than what most people thought, right? So what are we gonna do here? Well, in my eyes, I'm not gonna consider Rocks because we just don't know for sure if he's a Devil Fruit user or not. He probably was, but we can't say for sure, since Roger was probably not a Devil Fruit user either, and he was considered among the strongest individuals in the world of One Piece. So overall, we'll be considering Whitebeard among the 3 of Akainu, Whitebeard, and Kaido. Between Dragon and Whitebeard, again, really hypothetical, but I think I'll be going for Prime Whitebeard, which leaves us with the following dilemma. Whitebeard versus Loki versus Emu. For starters, Loki. He is extremely powerful even among the giants, being noted to have required all of Elbaf's finest warriors to keep him in check, even while imprisoned. He considers himself to be the strongest warrior in all of Elbaf, and many giants believe that Loki has enough power to destroy the world should he ever be freed once again. When it comes to Emu, I think I'll not be choosing her for now, because we just don't know for sure if she's a Devil Fruit user or not. So, between Loki and Prime Whitebeard, what would you choose? In my eyes, I still think I'd be going for Prime Whitebeard, but do let us know if you agree with us or not in the comments down below. And now, since we covered Devil Fruit users, let's speak about the strongest non-Devil Fruit user. Well, here, I got Shanks, Garp, Roger and Rox, with a question mark at the end. Between Shanks, Roger, and Garp, I think Shanks is a bit below those two when it comes to prime strength. So how about Garp versus Roger now? Well, Garp did consider Roger to be his equal when it comes to fighting, so who are we gonna choose? Well, since Garp failed to capture Roger, and rather Roger just handed himself in only when he was terminally ill, I think I'll be going for prime Roger here. Next up, which is the strongest female in the world of One Piece? In my eyes, we've got two candidates, Emu and Big Mom. Well, the clear answer here is of course Emu, right? Now, once again, we know close to nothing about her. Frankly, we don't even know for sure if she's a woman or not. But even though the full scope of Emu's abilities and power is unknown, the fact remains that she sits on the empty throne, a seat whose occupant would be associated with sole authority over the entire world. Plus, the fact that the five elders, who are publicly considered the world government's highest authorities, bow down before Emu and address her honorifically, indicating that Emu indeed holds the highest authority within the government and is probably the strongest among them. Plus, she's also seen being able to wield the Mother Flame in order to wipe an entire island out of existence. Up next, who's the strongest member of the Revolutionary Army? Well, naturally, this is none other than Dragon. Dragon's actions have given him the distinction of being the world's worst criminal, yet he's managed to lead a largely secure existence despite the world's greatest powers being after him. Dragon's infamy is so great that when Sengoku made his relationship with Luffy public, it caused panic in almost everyone present, including high-ranking members of the government, Warlord of the Sea Gecko Moria, several infamous pirates from Impel down, and even some of Whitebeard's pirates, having been enough for Luffy to be instantly marked as a dangerous future element, with some Marines prioritizing his elimination above that of Whitebeard's crew and even the Emperor himself. Moving on to the next group, who's the strongest bounty hunter? Well, in reality, we were only introduced to one, Zoro. Naturally, not only Zoro is among the strongest characters in One Piece, he's also the strongest bounty hunter we were ever introduced to. How about the strongest scientist? Well, for anyone ready to say this has gotta be Vegapunk, hold your horses. Yes, Vegapunk is insanely strong, but in terms of 1v1, he's not the strongest. That's because there's another scientist even stronger than him, Saturn. You see, as the warrior god of science and defense, Saturn held the authority to govern any scientific endeavors of the world government, along with immense resources to perform experiments using devil fruits and unethical human experimentation. He is also a scientist himself and was confident enough in using his own intelligence to believe that Vegapunk, the world's smartest man, would be unable to deceive him when it came to Kuma's cyborg modifications. And now, when it comes to actual strength, as one of the five elders, Saturn was one of the world government's five highest authorities, who, as a group, wield unrivaled influence over the world, with only Emu outranking them. Okay, let's do one a bit more challenging next. Who is the strongest non-captain pirate? Okay, I have in mind Zoro, King, Katakuri, but also, hear me out. We also have non-captain pirates of former monster crews. The actual candidates, I think, for this are Rayleigh, Odin, and Ben Beckman. I lean more towards Odin and Rayleigh here. So in reality, who among the two is the strongest? Well, if I was gonna pick only one, I would probably have to go for Rayleigh. But having covered that, who is the strongest Fishman next? Well, for this, we've got Jinbei, Fisher Tiger, Hack, Arlong, and Hody Jones. Okay, now that's definitely a tricky one. If I had to choose just one, I'd probably go for Jinbei here. I mean, the guy was not only a warlord, but the moment where he faced Big Mom without an inch of fear really showed how badass he truly is. Highly debatable, but I think this is what I'll be choosing. How about a giant next? Well, hear me out. Loki's probably gonna be the best option, at least given the info we have so far. Again, he's extremely powerful even among the giants, being noted to have required all of Elbaf's finest warriors to keep him in check even while imprisoned. He considers himself to be the strongest warrior in all of Elbaf, and many giants believe that Loki has enough power to destroy the world should he ever be freed once again. But hear me out on this next one. Strongest mink. Well, for this, I either have Nekomamushi or Inuarashi. Now, I don't really know for this one. I think they're probably around the same strength, so any choice could work. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Nekomamushi. And hear this next one, because I promise this is a really interesting one. Who's the strongest Lunarian? Well, we've got King for starters, the only true born confirmed Lunarian. But well, we've also got the Seraphim Seraphims now that are technically Lunarians as well. Not only that, but if you've been following my channel for a while, you already know about the 2 theories I presented in the past about 2 potential characters that may be Lunarians. The first and most popular theory among the 2 is Sanji. This theory claims that his hard skin, fire-based attacks, and even the ability to fly, yeah, I know that's a different kind of flight, but still, they suggest that Sanji has Lunarian DNA somewhere hidden inside him that will eventually be awakened. The second theory regarding Lunarians is Luffy, and hear me out briefly on this one. What if Luffy's Red Hawk, aka a fire-based attack, is nothing more than a semi-awakened ability of his secret Lunarian ancestry? After all, we know nothing about his mom, and this might be the reason. Plus, 5th gear, white hair, does that ring any bells? Maybe his awakening brings him closer to his inner Lunarian powers. So, having said all of these, which character should we choose as the strongest Lunarian? Well, since Luffy and Sanji are only hypothetical and might not actually be Lunarians, I'm gonna have to go for King. How about the strongest Cyborg next? Well, we've got Frankie, Queen, and Kuma. Among the 3, I think Kuma's probably our best option. I mean, the guy casually traveled across the world to land a punch on none other than Saturn, and all of that while being half junk. Plus, his Buccaneers race is said to be among the strongest ones, hiding certain special abilities we're just not aware of. Combine that with his Paw Devil Fruit, yeah, I'm gonna be going for Kuma. Okay, next, who's the strongest prisoner from Impel down? For anyone inclined to say either Luffy or Blackbeard, well, I'm gonna have to stop you right there, since it would seem that you're forgetting someone, and that someone is Shiki. You see, during Roger's era, Shiki was one of the most powerful pirate figures of the time, being on par with Sengoku, Garp, Whitebeard, and Roger as a living legend. Before that era, Shiki was a member of the Rocks Pirates, a powerful crew whose members included 3 of the future emperors, and was notable enough to be known as a feared peer within the group. So yeah, among the 3 mentioned, I'm gonna have to go for Shiki, at least, until the other 2 reach their prime, that is. Who is the strongest celestial dragon next? Now hear me out. Celestial dragons aren't exactly fighters, at least most of the time. However, there have been a couple of exceptions. For example, Doflamingo is a strong contender, but is he our best choice? Not quite, because the actual strongest celestial dragon is of course Shanks, that in recent manga chapters was revealed to be a descendant of the Figarland family, aka a celestial dragon family. How about a noble or royalty member, meaning part of high-ranking families, but not exactly quite celestial dragons? Well, here we've got Shirahoshi for starters, but also Emu, who we don't know for sure where she comes from. However, I'd argue that she's probably not a celestial dragon, and thus she qualifies for this point. I'm gonna be choosing Emu here. How about the strongest doctor next? Well, hear me out. Law and Marco are the prime candidates, right? But how about Prime Kureha? After all, we still don't know the doctor of the Rocks Pirates. What if that doctor was actually Kureha? If that's the case, then she was definitely incredibly strong. But for this point, I think I'm just gonna go for the confirmed ones that we know for sure about their strength. So, either Law or Marco. I think I tend to lean more towards Law, to be honest. So, I'm gonna go ahead and choose him. Up next, Shipwright. Here, it's either Frankie or Tom, but between the 2, I think Frankie's the clear winner here. So, no need to analyze this point any further. How about a strongest archaeologist next? Here, again, no need for much debate. This is probably Robin. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, Odin could also read the poneglyphs. Alright, not sure if that counts totally, so we're just gonna go for Robin here. On to the strongest pacifista or Seraphim. Here, all of them are about the same strength, but I do feel that S-Hawk and S-Snake are a small cut above the rest, due to their sword skills and devil fruit respectively. Between the 2 of them, I think I'm gonna have to choose S-Hawk. How about the strongest non-adult next? Well here, the only right answer is of course either Momonosuke or Bonnie. Yeah, technically both of them were turned into adults due to certain devil fruit powers, but in terms of physical age, they are both children, not even teenagers to be exact. Between the 2, I think I would go for Bonnie, as her devil fruit power is as broken as it can get. And for the final category of today's video, we have the strongest amputee, meaning a character who lost a body part. Here we have Shanks, who lost his arm, Fujitora that lost his eyes, Aokiji that lost a leg, Kid that lost a leg, and of course, Ace, who lost a stomach. No, seriously. But the strongest among them is of course Shanks, and thus, he's the one I'm gonna be choosing. Click on this video next, where we explain some of the most controversial One Piece hot takes, comment on them, as well as rank them based on how valid they are. Go on, check it out!